Hi, Mikhayla.
Hey. Oh, hold on. Let me hit. Got it. All right. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
That's good. I am good. Hanging in there.
Good, good. Thank you so much for being willing to be a part of the Rediscovering Our American Dream project. I'm excited to learn more about your personal story and journey and your perspective.
I'm excited to offer it. I hope I can share some sort of insight here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Mikhayla, let's jump right in. And you're usually the one interviewing. So today you are in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Mikhayla, let's jump right in. Please introduce yourself. Tell us your name and where you're from.
Yes, my name is Mikhayla Hughes-Shaw, and I'm from the Quad Cities, which is this cool spot between Iowa and Illinois, where the two states are kind of attached, and the cities we all intermingle between the two. So I currently live in Davenport, Iowa.
And Mikhayla, can you tell us a bit more about your upbringing and your childhood? What was it like growing up, family life, school life, in your community? What are some of the things that you vividly remember?
Ooh, loaded question. So actually, one thing that I think is pretty cool about my upbringing is I learned this later, probably when I was in high school, but that my school district was actually one of the most diverse school districts in Illinois. And I didn't recognize just how big of a deal that was until I actually went to a PWI, and it was a culture shock, to be quite honest. So I grew up around people from all different cultures, all different religions, all different races and ethnicities. And so a lot of my childhood friends, we all were different colors, we all had different cultures, and that was really cool. I was super involved, extracurricular activities. I was always busy doing something, whether it was a sport, a club for school, all the way from like elementary school until I graduated. So I stayed very, very busy. One group that sticks with me and that I still volunteer with to this day, that started when I was younger, was Love Girls Magazine, or is Love Girls Magazine, I should say. And that was actually started by my good friend Jasmine Babers, out of the Quad Cities. And so that, or volunteering with them, has actually led me to my career now as a journalist.
That's awesome, Mikhayla. What stands out to you about your life experience thus far, and what is something that people would be surprised to know about you?
I think people would be surprised to know that I just talked about how I was super involved. I was always busy, always doing something, but I dealt with the depression throughout a lot of my high school years. And that obviously is caused by so many different factors. It's a chemical thing, it's a situational thing. There's so many things that can impact somebody going through a mental health condition. But yeah, a lot of people were actually surprised to learn later, when I actually opened up about the fact that I was struggling in high school. They were shocked to know that, because I just didn't really openly share it or show it. But that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people are good at, hiding their struggles. But I've learned now, as I've gotten older, that it's a good thing to share your struggles and to let other people know that they're not alone in whatever they're going through. Another thing that people would probably be shocked to know about me is that my dad was actually incarcerated for most of the time that I was in high school. And so that had a major impact on me and my family, just as it does for just about every single child and family unit that is disrupted by incarceration. And so I try to be very open about that now too, just because that is something that impacts people of all colors, but especially minority families too, to a higher degree as well. And so I always just try to encourage people that have either gone through that or who are going through that, that does not define you. It's just a small part of your story, and you can actually use that as a tool to just try to do better and be better and help others.
Absolutely. That was so beautiful, Mikhayla. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, definitely.
Mikhayla, could you briefly mention this, but can you elaborate a bit more about your current profession and how long had you known that you wanted to go into the field or the industry, and what pushed you to get started?
I said this a little bit ago, but Love Girls Magazine is definitely kind of what started that fire in me to write and create content and to be a storyteller. So I remember, well, actually, it goes back further than that. I guess I should start at the beginning when I was in fourth grade and I hand wrote my own magazine and asked my friends to contribute articles and fashion advice, and I passed it around the classroom and it was 25 cents to read. So that's where it all started really. I've always known that I liked to communicate with people, to tell stories, and then I was really able to hone in on that a whole lot more with my involvement with Love Girls Magazine. That started when I was 15. And ever since then, I've had internships, whether it be investigative storytelling or magazine writing or podcasting, television news. I just kind of like threw myself into that realm and saw what stuck. And what stuck was working in broadcast. And so I worked as a reporter for a little under a year. And then I actually landed a new role with the same station. I work in the Quad Cities for WHBF TV, and now I work as a TV host. And that's been a dream of mine because I love connecting with people. I love highlighting people's stories, understanding why they do what they do, and getting a chance to uplift local nonprofit organizations, local businesses, especially in a time where local businesses need as much love as possible. So it's been a true joy. But yes, it started in fourth grade, and probably before that if I was writing a magazine in fourth grade. But
I love that you were entrepreneurial at a very young age.
right.
I I love that. Mikhayla, how has the pandemic impacted you, your family, and or your business or industry?
So my industry, I'll start there because that's a really unique take on it. When I started reporting officially as a TV reporter, not just in an internship, but actually as somebody out in the field every single day, it was in August of 2020. So we were about a couple months into the pandemic. We knew the severity of it, but I don't think anybody could have foreshadowed the fact that it's now December 2021 and we're still dealing with that. But it greatly impacted the way that we were out in the field. So we had extender mics, like it'd be a long pole like this big that we would kind of push out as we were interviewing people. A lot of coverage about just the pandemic itself and how it was and still is impacting our local healthcare systems, and just learning how to utilize the mess out of Zoom. Um, all those virtual platforms, you had to get used to those. So it made a great impact because not only were we living through this time, but we were also helping to write local history in the Quad Cities as well. And so it's a great responsibility to be able to do that work and to actually inform people. Like I remember reporting initially about, okay, we've got a vaccine approval. I remember the day that we ran the story about the first woman, it was overseas somewhere, where she got the first vaccine dose and everybody was applauding her. And so that has been a really unique thing that has come out of this time, is just finding new ways to communicate a message, in a way that would usually be so easy because you grab your camera and go. But what if you can't go? How do you still get that information out to viewers to make sure that everybody is informed about what's going on? Now, family wise, luckily, we have been so fortunate to have mostly everybody in my family be really healthy, even if they have caught COVID-19. So I think everybody dealt with that initial isolation. We've definitely been spending more time together now, though, that people are vaccinated and getting boosted soon, all of that. And so, yeah, my family's been fortunate, but I know so many people that haven't been as fortunate. So it's always important to kind of keep that in mind.
Thank you for that, Mikhayla. And when you hear the phrase or the term "the American dream," um, what bubbles up for you? What do you how do you interpret it? What do you feel about it?
I will say that my idea of the American dream has shifted a whole lot over this past year and some change after coming out of the most recent protests and riots and different things that ensued during. I don't know if people are calling it the Black Lives Matter movement, or but just that time and space where we had George Floyd, we had Breonna, not Breonna Taylor. Why am I?
Yes,
Yes, Breonna. Okay. Why was I struggling there? Yeah,
it
Breonna Taylor.
happens. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
it's yeah, they're names that you'll never forget, but yeah, definitely. So just coming out of that time, I always knew that we had a whole lot more work to do when it came to true equity and equality in our country. But I feel like that time really heightened the awareness as to just how far we really need to go. So the American dream for a lot of people, I feel like when you see it on TV, it's freedom, it's equality, it's a chance to better your education or your occupation, a chance to better your entire family. But I just feel like there's been a lot of things that have come to light that show that it's a lot harder than it seems, and it's not as simple as just coming to this country, because I recognize that people who are already in this country are still struggling for basic freedoms. And so I don't know, it's shifted quite a bit, and it can be extremely disappointing to think about too, because I know that we are very fortunate. We have a lot of opportunities that maybe other countries don't, but there's still a whole lot that we need to do when it comes to actually uplifting people, because I feel like everybody's American experience is not the same. Actually, it's not that I don't feel like that, that's the truth. Not everybody's American experience is the same. It's wildly different based on how you look, how old you are, and where you come from, I feel like.
Thank you so much for that. Mikhayla, what are, if you're willing to share, you shared a couple of them earlier, but if there are any in addition to that, what are one or two challenges that you have faced in trying to achieve either the American dream or your personal dreams and aspirations?
Mm. There are definitely times that I have recognized that I've been treated differently because of how I look. And that can be a really hard reality to deal with. And so that can sometimes act as a setback, or say you've made this wonderful achievement, but then it's just minimized based on somebody saying something hateful about you, or like I experienced this when I was Miss Iowa too. Sometimes instead of celebrating the fact that I had won Miss Iowa, it was racism, or it was feeling unwelcomed in a space, even though I was supposed to be representing that state. So there are definitely times where I feel like my race has created challenges for me that maybe wouldn't be there if my hair wasn't this curly, and if in the summer I didn't have a little bit more color on my skin. So yeah, that I would say that's definitely one of the barriers for sure. And also just that stigma too that's attached to having a father in prison, or just having to, even if I personally didn't have to deal with some of the things that he has had to deal with after coming home, watching some of those struggles has been really hard. And that's a huge setback. Not humanizing people who maybe have committed crimes. I mean, there's still people too, they've just made mistakes. And so sometimes it can be hard to even watch that, not as my own personal struggle, but to see some of the setbacks that he has had to overcome.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mikhayla. And lastly, my last question for you is, what advice would you give someone?
Ooh, gosh, loaded question again. I would say in 2021, almost 2022, and just be yourself and be okay with being yourself. This is the time where I feel like we are moving towards more acceptance and understanding than I've ever seen in my own lifetime. And I'm young, but I do feel like people are able to express themselves in ways maybe they haven't been able to before. And so just be unapologetically you, because that's what people are going to remember. They're not going to remember you if you're acting like somebody else, but they'll remember you if you are being you.
That was beautiful. Very, very amazing words of wisdom from
Thank
Mikhayla
you.
herself. Thank you so much, Mikhayla.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you for reaching out to me.
Absolutely, of course.